Hey, everyone, and welcome to the Mark Prater podcast, where our aim is to connect our global family of Sovereign Grace churches with our executive director. Mark, we have a treat on this episode of the podcast because
We
we
do.
are joined today by Jeff Palen from Center Church in Star, Idaho, recently planted as of last year. So, Jeff, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate being here.
Good to have you, Jeff.
Good to have you. Well, let's get right into it and let's learn more about Jeff. I'm interested myself, getting to know Jeff a little bit before we started recording, but I'm eager to hear more of your story. So, why don't you begin by telling us about really some things that are most important, your wife's name. Tell us about your family.
Yeah. My wife's name is Barb, and we were a couple of kids that met in school when we were barely 20, and so we've been married 20 years. This last November,
Oh,
we were very excited to do that.
congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, it was a big deal. We were pretty
That is
excited.
a big
So,
deal.
and we have four kids. Our oldest, Hannah, she's turning 18 and she's graduating high school this year. So we're dealing with college and
Mm,
all of that. So that's exciting stuff. Not
Mm.
exciting for mom and dad, but definitely exciting for Hannah. And
right.
then our next daughter is Mackenzie. She's 15 and she's just kind of like in high school. So loving it, just really loving all the stuff that comes along with that.
Mm,
And then we have one son, his name is Ben, and he's 13, and he's just kind of like really digging all the new activities in Idaho. Like he loves going fishing with his dad, doing the shooting stuff, all of that. And then we have Ava, who is the youngest of the bunch, and she's turning 12, and she really is the like lion tamer. She keeps us all in line, keeps dad to his word, makes sure he remembers everything he's ever said. And so she does a good job of that. And yeah, so that's our little family here.
nice.
That's great. That's great.
Yeah.
I'm glad they're loving Idaho.
Yeah.
Jeff, you
Yeah.
were a pastor for several years at Center Church in Gilbert, Arizona, sent from that
Yep.
church to plant in Star. How did
Yep.
your pastoral ministry experience prepare you to plant a church?
Yeah, I don't know about my experience outside of just what I got to see and experience there in Gilbert. So there's really two things that stood out to me.
Mm,
It was the team. So Rich, Trey, Steve, and Frank there in Gilbert, the rest of the leadership team, they have just always been just as a member and as on the becoming a team member myself, an elder there. They've been outstanding examples of Christ care and leadership, and so
mm,
just to get to watch them and just how in all their unique ways they just really showed me and watched them show the church Christ and His love. That's just been huge. So watching them
mm,
navigate, dynamic and diverse circumstances and issues there in Gilbert was just a great education.
Mm.
And now that I'm sort of solo here in Star,
mm,
I find myself really often drawing on those memories and drawing on just sort of like, hey, how would Trey address this individual right now? I really want to try to think about that and emulate that because I think he's just been a great example to me. Or how would Rich lead through this situation and just really just benefiting from getting to sit under them and sit with them, frankly. And then the other thing that was really helpful was just the people there at Gilbert. They
mm,
really do demonstrate, like, as I got to leave, I just remember reflecting on how much they embody the things that we value in sovereign grace and just celebrating them, that about them. And so there's just countless examples of people there that are demonstrating being formed by Christ into the image of Christ through a constant dependence on the gospel. I think about at the beginning of Romans, Paul's talking about like just this, he's convinced that there's mutual encouragement that he can receive and give with the Roman church. And that's kind of a crazy thing to hear from the Apostle Paul, that he's going to go benefit from new believers,
mm.
if you think about it. And I just felt like that was just so perfectly demonstrated in Gilbert, in such a way that it just I became convinced that that was something I wanted to see elsewhere,
Mm.
not just in Gilbert. And so it was just those two things were very powerful to me.
Mm. It's wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, that's Your story, I'm glad is a fairly common one in Sovereign Grace that church planters are sort of nurtured and incubated in healthy
Yeah.
Sovereign Grace churches, benefiting from elder teams there, and so it's great to hear how that was your experience as well. But you are not in Gilbert, Arizona anymore. You
No.
are in Star, Idaho, and for a geographically
Yep.
challenged people like me, I believe it's about 2,000 miles away. Um, no, but
Yes. Yes.
it is a it is certainly a different context. So talk to us about when your desire for church planting just generally even began and how it grew, and then why you ended up planting in Star, Idaho.
Man, I don't know if we have enough time for all of that, but I'll do
Take your
my
time, man.
best. Yeah, yeah. We can edit a lot, I'm sure. Uh, so I didn't actually come from a background where I really like wanted that really made me want to be a church planter. I really, the way that I understood church planting was that's something that you do if you want to be a lead pastor. Like if you don't have a place to be a lead pastor, you go build a place to be a lead pastor. And so
Mm,
I really didn't like that. That wasn't kind of who I was, and I was really just very content with being on the team in Gilbert. And it wasn't until I saw what church planting looked like in Sovereign Grace and really became just sold out over that really changed for me. And
mm,
so that was huge. And so just thank you to you guys, to Mark, to your leadership and just really conveying what that looks like. That was very helpful for me personally. But if really a few years back when that's what had shifted, I really started to sense, my wife and I started to sense it, that the Lord was kind of calling us to do something that we didn't really fully understand. We didn't know if it meant like within Gilbert or if it meant somewhere else. And I thought at the time, I thought it meant transitioning from being a bivocational elder to a full-time elder.
mm,
And so that's what I thought that meant. And just as we were praying about it as a team, because I did go to the team and just said, "Hey, I don't really know what this is. I sense God's doing something. Would you guys just pray with me? I know that's a really big target. It could be anything. So thanks for doing that." And they did, and we just started praying. And what I found was through that time of prayer, through obviously just working with the guys on the team and then looping in our region. Eric Trubetsky out there in the West was a huge part of these conversations early on. I just didn't kind of know what that meant. And the Lord started to oddly put this sort of like interest or burden or like curiosity about the Boise metro area.
mm.
And I honestly, every time I try to think back, I can't quite figure out what triggered that. And it's really weird because for the longest time, up until this point, I had no idea. Honestly, like, I hope you don't put this out there, but like, I probably couldn't tell you where Idaho was on the map, let alone Boise.
We'll
Like
keep
I
it a
think
secret.
I probably thought it was in the Midwest. I probably confused it with like Iowa or something like that. But realistically, I don't know what it was, but I started to really just think about this. And I had probably been hearing about a lot of migration that was happening. A lot of folks were moving to Idaho in a big way. Everybody's probably heard about it. That's in, the Tennessee or Texas was also experiencing a lot of
Right.
moves there. So I'm sure there's something like that, but I just became very curious and passionate about learning what God was doing there.
Mm,
And so we started to pray about Idaho. We didn't know what that meant. We didn't really we were open-handed, but nobody was saying don't do that. And honestly, Rich's leadership was let's just like God will make it clear if that's not the right direction. So let's just pray about it. Let's just lean into it and see what he does. And so when that happened and we started to, really kind of zoom in on that, we took some trips. I got a group of guys that were also interested in doing something like this at the church there. And so we made probably our family did about 4 or 5 trips, and we did a couple that were with other groups or couples that were interested. And we just drove all around the valley, the Boise Metro, and we just we'd get out and look and talk to people and kind of like had done some research also. And something really kind of seemed right and appropriate about Star.
Hmm.
Uh, and the more research that I did, it really confirmed that because it's just Star has grown tremendously. I told you guys, I think it's something like 88% that the city has grown since 2020. So
It's wild.
uh, that's not a very large amount of time, and it's currently, I believe, it's currently the one of the fastest growing cities in the state.
Hmm.
And that growth, this is what really kind of really stirred my interest. That growth is almost all from out of the state of Idaho. This is
Mm,
not folks moving from Boise into Star. This is folks coming from the Bay Area in California or Sacramento, or they're coming from the Seattle area or even parts of Oregon. And they're moving there, and they're all moving there really to try to change something about their context, or maybe they're interested in changing the political environment, or it's a lot more affordable, so they want to have a more economical community that they're a part of. Or really, probably most what I hear is people are really worried about the environmental factors in the sense of like it doesn't feel safe where we're from to raise our families, or uh, it's just dangerous in general. And so Idaho really provides a sense of like you can let your kids kind of play out on the street and do that
Hmm.
sort of thing. And so all of that stuff just became like, okay, everybody's moving there. They're all moving there for reasons to essentially enhance or improve their life. And that's exactly the kind of place that the gospel is going to powerfully work. Because when those things obviously fall out, when when they find those are not the things that are going to make to serve the parts of their soul and their heart that they need to be served the most, then that's what the gospel does best.
Hmm.
And so it just all of that together, that one big blob was really just rounded out for me that we needed to do something and serve folks that were desperately looking for a better life in a place that they weren't going to find it if they didn't find Christ, frankly.
Hmm.
Thanks for sharing that, Jeff. Just to hear the intentional prayer, you and the
Yeah.
Gilbert team put into this and how you involved others. It's just it's a reminder just how the Lord does lead us and the importance
Hmm.
of prayer in all that we do in ministry and in following Christ, but certainly in church planting. So you're in Star now. Tell us about your vision and hope for planting there in Star, Idaho.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a really good question. I would say the desire for us as a church is to really be seen as a big family in the neighborhood
Hmm.
that is really known for our love for Jesus and for those that are around us. I mean, if I could just put it into a simple phrase, that's really what I
Hmm.
would desire for us, that we would be very approachable, the same way that you could just kind of approach a neighbor or something like that.
Hmm.
And they would know and have the expectation that we love Christ and we want people to enjoy and love Christ as well. So I think like where that desire sits in Star is kind of interesting because so many folks are coming from kind of a background where they're really used to or familiar with like an institution. They're
Mm,
used to
Hmm.
like this kind of a very large sort of organized structure. Um, and really what I think we have probably the unique opportunity to do, at least in Star, is to really kind of move and introduce them into a fuller or more well-rounded idea of the faith,
mm,
to where their worship of Jesus, their walking with Jesus is really kind of not something that you go to, but something that is always happening kind of in all these different ways where you're at.
mm.
So our desire was really to try to facilitate that as best we can. And obviously you facilitate that best when you're doing it and you're just inviting people to jump in with you. And so really that's it. Like in the kind of the constant thing that I'm trying to help communicate to our people is let's just like think about what it is to walk with Jesus all the other parts of the week outside of the hour or two on Sunday. And so thinking about that and just doing that has really been a big part of it. So that means we're very much having to invest in relational forms of evangelism,
Hmm.
in care, like interpersonal care, and discipleship. Like those are the things that we're seeing as like those are the big rocks that we need to think about. And we're investing a lot of our time and resources into those. And so we hope to be able to serve at a neighborhood level and then trusting God that when we're serving at a neighborhood level well, that we'll be able to serve at a sort of at the town level or the greater area. So that's kind of the vision.
Excellent. I love that you have this heart for people to enjoy Jesus.
Amen.
That's
Yes.
just a beautiful
Amen.
way of putting it. So you actually have one of the more, at least in stories I've heard, more unique origin stories for when you first started meeting, because of where you first started meeting. So
Yeah.
talk to us about when did you guys start meeting and having public services? Where did you first start meeting? And
Yeah.
then thankfully God has provided a new space as well. But talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So about October, so well, yeah, probably yeah, September-ish. We're talking, we're meeting. Everybody has up from Gilbert, and all the ducks are in a row, so to speak. We kind of have everything lined up, and we're thinking like, hey, like what? There's no reason for us not to start meeting. So what's keeping us from meeting? And so we just started to pray and go to work. And we had thought we had the most amazing meeting space lined up.
Mm,
There's a junior high school that's like a mile away from all of our neighborhoods, and we're thinking we're gonna go there and we're gonna, you know, land a great spot that we're gonna be able to grow in. It's in the middle of this wonderful spot in town. And I start conversations with the school, and as we're having conversations, another church books the space. And
oh.
so, like, we've kind of already like the engine's on, we're rolling,
Hmm.
and we're like, oh no, we have nowhere to meet. What do we do? And
Mm,
Jeff and Brooke Carmichael, they're a couple that moved up from Gilbert with us. They said, hey, what if we all met in our garage? Like, we have a three-car garage. We don't have a bunch of stuff in there, so basically what they did is they went and they cleaned up their garage, they painted it. Jeff installed a
mm,
mini split to make sure that we had heat if we needed it, which we did. And
mm,
they went through all this work and they got their house set up, and we just like we took their floor plan and we just spent a couple hours like drawing up their floor plan to figure out
mm,
where could we put the kids and what could we do to make sure folks could get to a restroom and all of this stuff. And we mapped it out and everybody's like, yeah, that seems right. And we just
mm.
started meeting. So on the first week of October, we met in our neighbors and our friends' garage, and we held our kids in
That's
their
great.
dining room, and we made like little barricades so they wouldn't run free and stuff like that. And we met inside of a garage. And
Mm,
you all saw it if you're at the conference, you saw the photos. And we'll always hold those moments affectionately. But we ran through starting in October all the way through about February in the
mm,
garage, and we were really grateful for that. It was a wonderful provision, and Jeff and Brooks' generosity was huge. Um, but we have since found a meeting space in a local gym that
mm.
predominantly does classes. And so they have a very big open space that we're able to dress up very nicely. And it's called True Hit Gym. And so it sounds
Mm.
intense, I know. Uh, but we do go there, and we get the team gets it all set up, and we meet there, and we've been meeting there now for a little over a month.
Mm,
And so we're very grateful. God has just been so good to us. And every
mm,
time we show up on Sunday, my heart and I could just see it on everyone else's. We're just like, this is clearly us. Like this just
mm,
feels like the Lord like held this place for us.
mm.
And so we're very grateful for that. Yeah, we're very excited. But yeah, we have a great story. like it's going to be fun to tell that story 50 years from
Yes,
now.
It
yes,
So
will.
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's such a great story. I
it
mean,
is.
just the generosity, that you
Yep.
mentioned of that couple that came with you from
Hmm.
Gilbert. That's members in Sovereign Grace churches making a
Yep. That's
difference for
right.
the gospel. My
Hmm.
goodness, always affects me. All right, so let's say perchance somebody listening to this podcast lives in Star, Idaho area, or maybe more appropriately, somebody's listening or reading, and they know family or friends that live in Boise, Star, Idaho area. How
Yep.
would they find out more about Center Church if they wanted to visit?
Yeah, we have a couple of ways that they could do that. The easiest is just to go to our website which is centerchurchstar.com. But we're also like if you're trying to find us, we're on Google Maps, obviously, and then we have a YouTube channel that we started to be able to pipe the sermons in. So any of those avenues are going to be really helpful for them. But the website's probably going to connect them to all those.
Or you can look up the, what is it called? The Hit Gym?
Yeah, True Hit Gym. Yeah.
True Hit Gym.
Yep. You can get your sweat on Saturday and you can, praise Jesus on Sunday. I'm sure we can work that in at some point.
Oh, I'm sure. Fantastic. So there are a lot of folks who check out the podcast who are committed to praying for needs in Sovereign Grace. And so I'm confident there are a number of folks that are eager to pray for you
Yeah.
and your family and this church plant. So how can we be praying for you and the plant?
Yeah, oh man, I'm so grateful for that.
Hmm.
There is a passage that I would say if we could pray according to this passage, that would be wonderful. Because it's definitely the desire of my heart. So 2 Corinthians 2, 14, 15,
Mm,
but thanks be to God who in Christ always leads us in triumphal procession and through us
Hmm.
spreads the fragrance of the knowledge of him everywhere. For we are the aroma of Christ to God among
Hmm.
those whom are being saved and among those who are perishing. And we want to smell like Jesus
Hmm.
mm,
really, really badly here.
Hmm.
And we just know he is calling people out of darkness.
Hmm.
And so we just would love to be there to see that happen and to help them as much as and as long as we can. So yeah, please pray that way as often as possible.
mm. It's a great way to pray.
Will do. Well, Jeff, thanks for joining us and for sharing a little bit of your story. It's so encouraging to hear what God's doing in and through you in Star, Idaho. And we'll be praying that more and more people in the Star, Boise sort of area enjoy Jesus because
Yeah.
of the efforts, the faithful efforts of Star Church. So thanks, Jeff. And thank you, everybody, for checking out the podcast. We'll see you here next week, Lord willing. Bye for now.
Thank you for watching. If you have questions or comments, Mark would love to hear from you. For more videos like this, hit subscribe on YouTube or by email at markkprater.com.